So the topics of our discussion for today are: first, analyzing waveforms for their average and RMS content, and second is series and parallel operation of thyristors. So series and parallel operation of thyristors also happens to be a direct topic in unit number 1. So if you remember, in the previous lecture on Friday, we had concluded the session by analyzing what would be the RMS content of a full wave control rectifier for two extremities of the values of alpha, that is alpha equal to 0 and alpha equal to pi. So now if you have understood on what basis the average content of any periodic waveform is calculated, then today we should be in a position to comment on the average and RMS content of at least 8 different waveforms which I have thought of. So let me go back to the basic definition of average content just to revise. So I don't think so it's here. Yeah, it's here. So we had defined that average content of any periodic waveform is the algebraic sum of area above and below x-axis. So average content of any periodic waveform is the algebraic sum of area above and below x-axis. So when we were considering the output of an AC voltage controller which consisted of two SCRs connected back to back, here, so there we told that the average content of load voltage of this particular circuit is 0, because if we assume that the SCRs T1 and T2 are exactly identical, and if they are fired at symmetrical firing angles, that is alpha and pi plus alpha, in positive and negative half cycles respectively, then we see that the area of one cycle of load voltage over one cycle, that is 0 to 2 pi radians, will be equal above and below x-axis. So the waveform which is in front of us is a waveform whose area above and below x-axis over one cycle is equal, and hence if we connect a DC voltmeter across the load RL in this circuit, then if T1 and T2 are exactly identical, the DC voltmeter should show us a 0 reading. Got the point, na? So this was the definition we discussed about the average content. So already before about 15 or 17 sessions, when we discussed about the fundamentals of power electronics, there we had segregated the electrical energy and AC and DC, and in turn we segregated both AC and DC energies as pure AC and pure DC, and impure AC and impure DC, and we discussed how and why different waveforms have zero average content, zero RMS content, or non-zero average content, or non-zero RMS content. So we will just briefly revise, and some waveforms which we are in a position to appreciate and understand now after we had a discussion about how to draw all the important waveforms of a half wave control rectifier and a full wave control rectifier. I feel we are in a position to comment on the average and RMS contents of at least 8 different waveforms. So we again go back to our agenda for the day, that is analyzing waveforms for average and RMS content. So now I will draw 8 different waveforms to the left, and we will have two columns where we are going to write its average content and RMS content, but not as regards their numerical value, because we do not have any provision to measure the actual values on screen, but we can comment on the average and RMS content of these waveforms in two different values, that is not in fact two different values, in fact three or four, that is 0 and non-zero, and in non-zero we can say whether it is positive or negative. Okay, yeah. So we will frame a question now. Comment on the average and RMS content of the waveforms shown below. Evaluating it as the following. First, zero, and second is non-zero, NZ, and in that also we can say it is non-zero positive and non-zero negative. Okay, and when we say it's non-zero positive, that means it is greater than 0. When we say non-zero negative, it is less than 0, right? So basically we have to write in the cell either Z, NZP and NZN. Now we'll start with waveforms which give us an obvious indication about their RMS and average content, and we'll gradually move on to more complex waveforms. So we have the first column as serial number, then we have the waveform, and then we have average content and RMS content. Okay, so we'll abbreviate it like this. Average content means it is indicated as AVG, and RMS is abbreviated as RMS. First waveform. Second waveform. Third waveform. Fourth waveform. Sixth waveform. Hello. Okay, so we have 9 different waveforms and we have to comment on the average and RMS content here as Z, NZP and NZN. Okay. So I would be happy to have students volunteer for giving answers and help me write against each waveform in the average and RMS columns, either Z, NZP or NZN. Come on, start. So for waveform number 1, what should I write in average value?
It should be 0.
Yes. Against waveform number 1, what should I write in average and RMS value? Z, NZP or NZN?
NZP 0.
Okay. Fine. So it is NZP, correct. It's a pure DC signal. So we have a non-zero average value, and because it is above x-axis, it is NZP, and because it is pure DC, that is why we have to write Z, zero RMS content. Very good, whoever you are. Okay, similarly for waveform number 2, what is the comment?
NZN 0.
Very good. Second waveform is again a pure DC signal, and because it is below x-axis, that is why I have to write a non-zero negative value. Again, because it is pure DC, it has zero RMS content. Very good. What about waveform number 3? Yeah,
Z and ZP.
pardon? Yeah, again I could not hear.
Z and NZP.
Very good. Waveform number 3 is a pure AC signal, so its average content is 0. So I have to write down Z in average content. And what about RMS value? Yes, RMS content of a pure AC signal, is it NZP or NZN? Yes.
NZP.
Yes, RMS can never be NZN because RMS is root mean square. So we know that a square of any number, whether positive or negative, is always positive. So answer for all RMS values will be NZP only. So wherever we have a non-zero RMS, it has to be NZP. It cannot be NZN. So it is NZP compulsory. So RMS value NZN is not applicable. Fine. What about waveform number 4? Yes.
NZP and NZP.
Very good.
NZP.
Correct. So this is the first waveform which is having both average and RMS content as non-zero, right? So because it is existing only above x-axis, this waveform has a non-zero average value, and because it is always changing, it is having a non-zero RMS value. So the answer for this is NZP, and obviously, as I told you, if at all the RMS value is non-zero, it is always positive, NZP. What about waveform number 6? It's a mirror image of 4. So what will be the value for average content?
NZN
NZN NZP.
Very good. So waveform number 5 is existing only below x-axis. So it will have a non-zero negative average value. Because it is changing, it has a non-zero RMS value. So again here we have non-zero, but it is negative because it exists below x-axis. And as usual, RMS has to be NZP. Yeah. Now we have a little difficult waveforms. Waveform number 6. What is the value? What is the answer for waveform number 6?
NZN NZP.
NZN. Very good. So here we see that the area of the waveform over one cycle above x-axis is less than the area below x-axis. Getting me na? So the area of waveform over one cycle has a larger area below x-axis compared to above x-axis. So it will have a negative average value. So we have to write down here non-zero negative, and obviously because it is not pure DC, so it is NZP. Very good. What about waveform number 7?
NZP and NZP.
Very good. So here
NZP.
again it is reversing now. So we are seeing here in waveform number 7, this waveform has a larger area above x-axis than area below x-axis. What the point? So in this case we have NZP, and because it is not pure DC, RMS will always be NZP. Okay, what about waveform number 8?
Z and NZP.
Very good. So we are seeing here specifically that the firing angle during the positive half cycle is 45 degrees and that during negative half cycle is 225 degrees. That means it is alpha and pi plus alpha. So if alpha is 45, pi plus alpha becomes 225. That means what? It is symmetrical. So here the area, because we have alpha and pi plus alpha, the area of the voltage above x-axis is exactly equal to the area below x-axis, right? So we have an AC waveform here, but it is having a zero average value. So it will be Z, and as usual NZP. What about this thing now? Yes. Yeah, waveform number 9.
NZP, NZP.
Yes. So what is the difference between waveform number 7 and 9?
Seven has different firing angle.
No, my question to you is that whose average content will be larger and whose content will be lesser?
7. 9 will have a larger answer.
Yeah, 9 will have larger. Why? Because algebraic sum in waveform number 9 is larger than algebraic sum in waveform number 7. So we see here that waveform number 7 and 9, both of them have non-zero positive and non-zero positive for average and RMS. But because less amount of area is getting subtracted in 9 than 8 than 7. So here we see that it appears to be similar, but from the value point the value is more. So we can just comment here that although waveform number 7 and 9 have similar set of AVG, comma RMS values, the AVG content of waveform 9 will be larger than AVG content of waveform 7. Can you comment on RMS content, relative RMS content of waveform 7 and waveform 9? Yes. Who is closer to a pure sine wave, 7 or 9?
7.
Waveform 7.
Yeah, so again a question, it's an important question, that amongst the two waveforms 7 and 9, which waveform is closer to pure sine wave?
7.
7. That is what? Waveform number 7 will have a larger RMS value than waveform 9. So waveform 9 has larger average value, but waveform 7 has larger RMS value. Okay, so we can again make a comment here that since waveform 7 is closer to a pure sine wave, compared to waveform 9, RMS content of waveform 7 is greater than the RMS content of waveform 9. Okay, fine. So hope you have a fair idea about these things. These are basics again. Now you go to the second topic, series and parallel operation of thyristors. So as I told you that thyristor is a family and SCR is one member of that thyristor family. But usually whenever we use the word thyristor, it actually can mean SCR. Okay, so we can say that series and parallel operation of SCR. So when we say series and parallel operation means connecting SCRs in series and connecting SCRs in parallel. So when we say this thing, I say that series means connecting two or more SCRs in series, and this means connecting two or more SCRs in parallel. Series. Now if you go back to basics of network theory, we know one thing, that okay, so you can say we know that first voltage gets divided when components are connected in series. And second, current gets divided when right. So voltage gets divided when components are connected in series, and current gets divided when components are connected in parallel. Now we also have studied about SCR, that SCR can first block a voltage as high as VBO, okay, SCR can block a voltage as high as VBO 600 volts for TYN 612 device till it is fired. At the same time, it can conduct large values of current once it latches. So we have two known facts from basics of network theory, and we have two known facts from the operation of an SCR. Okay. So SCR can block a voltage as high as breakover voltage till it is fired. And it can also conduct large values of current once it latches. Okay. So combining fact number 1 from network theory and fact number 1 from SCR theory, we can actually block voltages larger than 600 volts if we connect two SCRs in series. Similarly, if we combine fact number 2 from network theory and fact number 2 from SCR theory, then we can actually have a current flowing through the system more than the capacity of an individual SCR. So when we say SCR can block a voltage as high as 600 volts, it means a single SCR. So we know here that single SCR can block a voltage as high as VBO till it is fired. So now we will take practical example of a device. Okay. Consider the SCR TYN 8016. So this particular SCR TYN 8016, it has a breakover voltage of 800 volts. Okay, so we have two fields here, 80 and second field is 16. So if you multiply this 80 with 10, you get 800, and if you keep 16 as it is 16 amperes. Okay, so this actually means this device has a breakover voltage of 800 volts, and the 16 means that I RMS rating is 16. That means this device can conduct up to a maximum of 16 ampere of RMS current and can block up to 800 volts till it is not fired. So in the off state, this SCR can block up to 800 volts of voltage, and when once it is fired, it can conduct up to 16 amperes. So we can say here that a single TYN 8016 can block up to 800 volts and it can conduct up to 16 amperes of RMS current. Okay, so there are certain applications where I need to block voltages larger than 800 volt, and there will be certain applications where I need to conduct more than 16 amperes of current. Okay, so now we can put forth a challenge telling that what if a certain application needs to first block a voltage larger than 8 volt or conduct RMS current greater than 16 amperes, right? So if I connect two TYN8016 devices in series, I get the ability to block voltages greater than 600 volt. Similarly, if I connect two TYN8016 devices in parallel, then I will have the ability to conduct more than 16 amperes of current. So this is basically what it means, or this is basically the need of connecting SCRs in series and in parallel. Okay. Now we go ahead and we can write some important points here, that for controlling power in high voltage and low current or low voltage high current applications, SCRs can be connected in series or parallel respectively. Okay, so if it is a high voltage low current application, you connect the SCRs in series. If you have a low voltage high current application, then you connect the SCRs in parallel respectively. Okay. So series connection is meant for high voltage, and parallel operation is meant for high current. This is how we remember it. Okay, but theoretically it seems very promising and very exciting that yes, now I'm going to connect two SCRs in series or in parallel. But things are not as simple as they appear to be. There are certain complications which come into picture, right? So now we can make a point here in network theory, fact number 1, that voltage gets divided equally if the components are similar. So we can make one more point here, that voltage gets divided equally if the components are exactly identical. Similarly, current gets divided equally if components are exactly identical. And in your second year in semiconductor devices and circuits or EDC, your teacher must have told you that even if two transistors have the same part number, say BC547, still both transistors will not operate exactly identical in a circuit. Why? Because in any semiconductor device, even a slight variation in the doping concentration or the widths of the layers will lead to a drastic change in the datasheet parameters. A classic example would be two BJT NPN transistors BC547 same part number. But even if the base width of one of these two transistors changes relative to the base width of the another transistor, there will be a large difference in the HFE values of both the transistors, although both of them have the same part number BC547. So please understand one thing, that in semiconductor devices this is very, very sensitive. So a slight change in the width of the base region of the order of a few micrometers can lead to a change in the value of HFE, that is a current gain of the order of tens, if this is there. So that is why, although we may choose two TYN8016 SCRs from the market, but because both of them are fabricated on two different silicon wafers, that is why there is a great possibility that even with the same part numbers, the datasheet parameters may be different, and even small change in the parameters may lead to a drift in the performance parameters of the circuit which has been built using these SCRs. Okay, we can practically demonstrate this in the lab through the circuit called as AC voltage controller, where we connect two SCRs in back-to-back fashion and we try to control the AC power at the input. And we can clearly see that when we connect a DC voltmeter at the output of an AC voltage controller, the DC voltmeter does not show a zero value, rather it shows a non-zero value. And this non-zero average content in the output of an AC voltage controller is a direct proof that the two SCRs which are connected in a back-to-back fashion or anti-parallel fashion are not exactly identical. That is why they are giving us a load voltage waveform which is not having exactly equal areas above and below x-axis over one cycle. So hope so that in the future, if you are able to come to the power electronics lab, at that time I will show to you how in AC voltage controller kit, when we operate it and when I connect a DC voltmeter across the load, the actually voltmeter shows a value of 0.050 volt, that is 50 millivolts. Only if the DC voltmeter shows a 0 volts, that means both SCRs are exactly identical, but they are never there. There is always a non-zero component in the average value which shows that there is slight mismatch. So larger the mismatch between two SCRs and an AC voltage controller, more will be the non-zero value of the load voltage waveform. So we can understand this thing, that whether it is a BJT or a MOSFET or an SCR or a triac or an IGBT, even if they are having identical part numbers, still they can never ever operate identically. Okay, so what is the solution to this is this. So if I want to use two SCRs in back-to-back fashion, in order to minimize or avoid the mismatch, I would rather go in for another device called as a triac, which is functionally two SCRs connected in back-to-back fashion. Okay, so when I connect SCRs in this fashion, one to conduct in positive half cycle and the next one to conduct in the negative half cycle, even if both of them are TYN 8016, because both of them are not exactly identical, what I get at the output is a waveform which seemingly looks symmetrical, but actually it is not. So even if I fire the upper SCR at alpha and lower SCR at pi plus alpha, when I connect this thing to a DC voltmeter, the DC voltmeter shows a reading which is not equal to 0, right? So what is the solution to this? The solution to this is called as a one chip solution. So the solution to making this DC voltmeter reading to 0 is to use another device called as a triac, which actually looks like this. So this is called as a triac, and just like our SCR has terminals anode, cathode and gate, anode, cathode and gate, our triac has 3 terminals called as MT2, second is called as MT1, and it has a common gate inside. It's gate. Okay, so MT1 is called as main terminal, so MT2 is main terminal 2, and this is main terminal 1. And this, unlike an SCR, is a bidirectional device because it is basically functionally equal to 2 SCRs connected in parallel. So triac is nothing but 2 SCRs fabricated on same silicon wafer and connected in anti-parallel fashion and connected in anti-parallel fashion. Okay, parallel would mean anode connected to anode and cathode connected to cathode, but when I connect anode to cathode and cathode to anode, that becomes an anti-parallel fashion. Okay, so triac is nothing but 2 SCRs fabricated on same silicon wafer and connected in anti-parallel fashion. So just like here I am having bidirectional load current. Okay, I'm having a bidirectional load current. This SCR conducts like this and this SCR conducts like this. So I put the same functionality by using a triac, which is originally a bidirectional device. Okay, and when I use triac in place of 2 SCRs connected physically in anti-parallel fashion, I am able to clearly observe that my DC voltmeter shows an almost 0 value here. Okay, so now DC voltmeter will now show me a 0 value. Got the point? So BT136 is one very famous triac which is used in the market for power electronics applications. So some sample numbers for SCRs are TYN 612, we have TYN 8016, and conversely the triac has a part number BT136. Okay, so let me show to you the data sheets of triac. Yeah, so we have 8 ampere SCRs also. So we have 8 ampere SCRs. We have 10, 12 and 16 ampere SCRs also. So it's TYN 210 to TYN 1010 series. TYN X08. We have Triax2 BT136. Okay. So they are 4 ampere, 800 volts, 4 amperes. So 8 ampere SCRs, 10 amperes, 12 amperes, 16 amperes, and we have 600 volts and 4 amperes. Non-repetitive rating, non-repetitive peak on-state current is 25 amperes. Yeah. Repetitive. Okay. So we'll take our discussion ahead in the next lectures. We'll complete the topic and also start with UJT triggering circuit. And soon we should come to an end of unit number 1. So we have 1 minute. Anybody has any question to ask? And they can ask.